Ladies and gentlemen, listen. There comes a moment in every life when you look in the mirror and realize something powerful. No one is coming to rescue you. Not a friend, not a mentor, not a lucky break. The person who changes your life is the same person staring back at you every morning. And that truth isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to set you free. Because once you accept that you are the builder, the architect, and the foundation of your future, you unlock a strength that was always there, waiting to be awakened. Tonight, I want to talk to you about one thing: building yourself into someone stronger, not perfect, not fearless, stronger. Stronger than your excuses, stronger than your doubts, and stronger than the version of you that once settled for less. Let's break this down into 5 key principles, 5 pillars that can reshape the way you walk through life. There comes a point in every person's life when the truth they've been avoiding stands right in front of them, refusing to move until it is acknowledged. And facing that truth, that's where the real battle begins, because truth isn't always gentle. Truth isn't always easy. Sometimes it feels like standing in front of a mirror under a harsh light, seeing every flaw, every habit, every excuse you hope no one else noticed. But growth does not come wrapped in comfort. Strength is never born from denial. The path to becoming better starts with a simple, painful, courageous decision to face your truth even when it hurts. Most people avoid their truth because it forces them to confront everything they have been running from. It demands honesty, accountability, and humility. It asks you to stop blaming the world, stop pointing fingers, stop telling yourself stories that protect your ego but destroy your progress. It requires you to look at your own reflection and admit that sometimes you were the problem. Sometimes you lacked discipline. Sometimes you didn't give your best. Sometimes you let fear make the decisions for you. And that kind of honesty, it can shake your spirit. But that same honesty can also set you free. There is power in saying, I need to change. There is strength in admitting, I can do better. That moment of truth becomes the foundation for a new version of you. Because when you face your truth, you take back control of your life. You stop being a passenger and start being the driver. And the moment you shift from excuses to accountability, your entire path begins to change. Think about the people who grow the most. They are not the ones who hide from their mistakes. They are the ones who study them. They are not the ones who pretend they have it all together. They are the ones who break open the things inside them that no longer serve them. They don't run from their past, they use it as fuel. They don't hide their weaknesses, they work on them until those weaknesses become strengths. They accept what is real, not what is comfortable. I once knew a young man who had every bit of potential you could imagine. Talented, smart, full of promise, but he kept getting in his own way. Late nights, procrastination, the wrong crowd, constant excuses. For years he thought life was unfair, thought people didn't understand him, thought opportunity avoided him. Until the day he finally asked himself a question he'd avoided for too long. What if I'm the one stopping myself? That question changed everything. He cut off distractions, rebuilt his mindset, started showing up early, worked harder than ever, and little by little his life transformed. Not because the world suddenly became kind to him, but because he finally faced the truth he had buried for years. Your truth might be different. Maybe you're afraid to take risks. Maybe you're holding onto a painful past. Maybe you're surrounded by people who drain you instead of push you. Maybe you've been pretending you're okay when deep down you know you're not living anywhere near your potential. Whatever your truth is, it won't leave you alone until you face it. It will whisper, it will nudge, it will knock, and eventually it will demand to be acknowledged. And when you finally confront it, something remarkable happens. You stop wasting energy hiding. You stop fighting battles inside your mind. You free yourself from pretending. You open the door to growth. Facing your truth is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate act of strength. It is the beginning of your evolution. So look inward. Look honestly, look bravely, because the truth might hurt, but avoiding it hurts far more. Your truth is not your enemy, it is your guide. It is the key to unlocking a stronger, wiser, more powerful you. And once you face it, you'll realize the person you've been waiting to become has been within you all along, simply waiting for the moment you chose to be real. There is a difference between feeling inspired and being committed. A difference between the spark that gets you moving and the engine that keeps you going when the road gets rough. Most people depend on moments of excitement to push forward, but anyone who has ever built anything meaningful will tell you the same truth. Motivation is loud, motivation is emotional, motivation is temporary. Discipline, though discipline is steady, discipline is quiet. Discipline is the force that carries you long after motivation has faded away. Think about the mornings when you wake up full of energy. You feel unstoppable, ready to conquer the day. That feeling might last an hour, maybe even a week, but eventually life shows up. You get tired, you get busy, you get overwhelmed, and when motivation disappears, what's left? Discipline. The daily decision to show up, not because you feel like it, but because you committed to it. Discipline is the difference between wishing and becoming. It's the difference between a dreamer and a doer. Motivation might open the door, but discipline walks you through it every single day. There was a young woman who wanted to become a writer. Every January she bought new notebooks, promised herself she would write every day, and for the first few weeks she did. But the moment she felt uninspired, she slowed down. When work got stressful, she stopped. When life got busy, the dream faded. One day, she realized she had spent years depending on her feelings to carry her. She made a different decision. She gave herself a schedule. 1 page a day, no matter what. Not 5 pages on her good days, not 0 on her bad days, just 1. Rain or shine, tired or energized, she showed up. A year later, those small, disciplined pages became a finished book. Not because she was always motivated, but because she refused to rely on motivation at all. This is how discipline works. It transforms your life quietly. It builds you in the shadows before revealing you in the light. It teaches you to depend on your actions, not your emotions. And the moment you understand this, you stop waiting for the perfect mood to start. You stop waiting for inspiration to visit you. You stop relying on energy to guide your day. You become your own fuel. Discipline also creates trust within yourself. When you say you're going to do something and you follow through, you build self-respect. You build confidence. You build a reputation with the person who matters most, you. And when you break your own promises, it doesn't matter how motivated you were in the beginning. You weaken the foundation of your future. Some people think discipline is harsh, but in reality, it is a gift. It gives structure to your dreams. It gives order to your growth. It gives strength to your character. Motivation is like the wind, beautiful, refreshing, unpredictable. Discipline is like a compass. It keeps you on course no matter how the weather changes. Discipline doesn't mean you ignore your feelings. It means you don't let your feelings decide your future. It means you show up even when life is frustrating, even when fear tries to slow you down, even when comfort tries to pull you backward. It means you give yourself what you need, not what you want in the moment. If you want to grow into someone stronger, shift your focus. Stop chasing the high of motivation and start building the muscle of discipline. Wake up and commit. Choose consistency over intensity. Choose small daily wins over occasional big efforts. Choose to do the work even when no one is watching, even when you're tired, even when the reward seems distant. Because the truth is simple. Your future will not be built by how often you feel inspired, but by how consistently you act with discipline. It is the quiet habits, the steady steps, the daily decisions that shape the person you become. And once you learn to rely on discipline, not motivation, nothing can stop your growth. Every dream you carry, every goal you chase, every version of yourself you're trying to become. All of it depends not only on the work you do within yourself, but on the people you allow around you. The truth is simple and powerful. You cannot rise if you're surrounded by people who are comfortable staying low. You cannot grow if you're surrounded by minds that fear growth. You cannot build anything meaningful if you are standing in a circle full of breakers, people who tear down your energy, your confidence, your belief, and your momentum. Life has a way of revealing who is meant to walk with you and who is meant to stay behind. The people in your circle will either push you forward or pull you down, and most of the time, it happens quietly, gradually, without you even noticing. That's why you must choose with intention. You must surround yourself with builders, people who want to see you rise, people who inspire you to think bigger, people who hold you accountable, people who remind you of who you are when you forget. Builders speak differently, they think differently, they carry a different energy, they talk about goals, solutions, opportunities, and growth. They celebrate your wins without jealousy. They challenge your excuses without apology. They don't let you shrink into comfort because they see the strength inside you, even on days when you can't see it yourself. Breakers, on the other hand, have a way of draining you. They talk more about people than possibilities. They feed your fears instead of your faith. They encourage your distractions, not your discipline. Their words sound small, their vision feels limited, and their company leaves you weaker than you were before. Sometimes they break you intentionally, and sometimes they do it simply because they've never learned to build themselves. I once knew a young man who had ambition bigger than his neighborhood, bigger than his circle, bigger than the limitations people put on him. But he spent years surrounded by breakers. They laughed at his ideas, mocked his discipline, told him he was dreaming too big, and little by little he started believing them, not because they were right, but because their voices were louder than his own. The day he stepped away from those voices, everything changed. He met people who had goals, people who were hungry, people who didn't apologize for wanting a better life. And in that environment he began to rise. Not because he suddenly became more talented, but because he was finally surrounded by people who believed growth was possible. Your environment shapes you more than you admit. Studies show that your habits, your mindset, even your success are influenced by the 5 people you spend the most time with. You start to speak like them, think like them, behave like them, and eventually you become like them. So ask yourself, who are you becoming in the company you keep? Are you surrounded by minds that lift you, or hearts that break you? Choosing builders is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. It's about protecting your energy, guarding your goals, and respecting your future. Builders don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be successful yet. They just need to be moving forward, trying, learning, improving. Their presence alone will challenge you to rise higher. But you must be willing to walk away from anyone who is committed to staying broken, especially if they want you to stay broken with them. Walk with people who elevate your spirit. Talk to people who make you think. Build with people who have fire in their hearts. Share your dreams with people who want to see them come true. And when you find people who lift you higher, keep them close. Because builders are rare, but they make life richer, stronger, and far more meaningful. Surround yourself with builders, not breakers, because the foundation of your future depends on the hands that help shape it. Choose wisely, choose boldly, and choose people who remind you that rising is not just possible, it's expected. There is a truth every person eventually meets on the path to growth. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is not the thing that comes to destroy you, weaken you, or break you down. Pain is the force that shapes you, strengthens you, and prepares you for the life you keep saying you want. The problem is, most people spend their entire lives running from it. They hide from discomfort, avoid challenge, turn away from anything that threatens their sense of control. But greatness is never born in comfort. Strength is never built in safety. The strongest version of you is waiting on the other side of the pain you keep trying to escape. When you learn to embrace pain, not run from it, everything in your life begins to shift. Pain teaches you, pain sharpens you, pain wakes you up. It shows you what matters, what needs to change, and what no longer belongs in your life. It reveals your resilience, your capacity, your courage. qualities you never would have discovered if everything had always come easy. Think about the people you admire, the ones who stand tall in the world with conviction and strength. None of them became who they are by avoiding struggle. They walked through fire, they faced storms. They endured losses, failures, heartbreaks, disappointments, and injustice. Their strength didn't come from being untouched. It came from refusing to let their pain define them. They used their pain as fuel. There was a young woman who lost her job unexpectedly. Everything she had planned gone in a moment. For weeks she felt defeated, overwhelmed, scared. Pain showed up at her door, uninvited and unwelcome. But instead of hiding, she decided to sit with it. She asked herself what she could learn from it, how she could grow from it, how she could rebuild stronger than before. She took courses, reached out to mentors, learned new skills, and months later she created her own small business. Something she never would have dared to try if life hadn't pushed her. What felt like the end was actually the beginning. Pain had reshaped her into someone bolder, wiser, and far more capable. Pain can be the same for you if you allow it. Every setback carries a lesson. Every challenge carries a gift. Every disappointment carries direction. When you stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as preparation, your entire mindset transforms. But embracing pain doesn't mean you enjoy it. It doesn't mean you pretend it feels good. It means you stop allowing it to scare you. You stop letting it dictate your choices. You stop letting fear of discomfort trap you in the same place year after year. It means you allow yourself to feel, to learn, to grow instead of escaping into distractions, excuses, or denial. Growth requires discomfort. Healing requires honesty. Transformation requires sacrifice. A muscle does not grow unless it is broken down first. A diamond is not formed without pressure. A seed does not rise unless it pushes through darkness. Pain is nature's way of shaping you into someone stronger than you were before. When life gets hard, most people ask, "Why me?" But a stronger question is, "What is this teaching me? What strength is this building? What part of me is being refined?" That shift in perspective turns pain into power. When you embrace pain, you give yourself permission to outgrow who you used to be. You stop settling. You stop shrinking. You stop running. You face life head on with a spirit that refuses to back down. You honor the struggle because you know it is molding you into a wiser, more resilient version of yourself. So when pain comes, and it will, don't hide. Don't numb it. Don't deny it. Stand still. Breathe deep, listen to what it's trying to teach you. Let it strengthen your character. Let it build your discipline. Let it sharpen your focus, because the truth is simple. Pain will either break you or build you, and the moment you choose to embrace it instead of escape it, you step into a level of strength you never knew you had. Every journey toward greatness begins with a single decision. The decision to get better, not sometimes, not when life feels easy, not when motivation strikes, but every single day. Growth is not an event. It's not a moment of inspiration. It's a lifestyle, a commitment, a promise you make to yourself that no matter what yesterday looked like, today you will rise just a little bit higher. Committing to daily improvement means understanding that small steps matter. They stack, they multiply, they build momentum. People often think success comes from one big leap, one perfect opportunity, one lucky break. But real progress is created in the quiet hours, in the habits no one sees, in the choices you make when no one is watching. A stronger, wiser, more capable version of you is created in the ordinary moments of discipline, not the extraordinary moments of motivation. Imagine someone working to rebuild their life. They don't need to overhaul everything overnight. All they need is one daily action that moves them forward. Read a few pages of a book. Drink more water. Practice a skill for 20 minutes. Clean one small corner of the room. Learn a new word. Have one honest conversation. These seem like small acts, but small acts performed consistently turn into powerful transformations. 1% better every day becomes 80% better in a few months, and unrecognizable in a year. Daily improvement also requires patience. We live in a world obsessed with instant results. People want progress without the process. They want the reward without the repetition. But mastery takes time. Growth takes time. Becoming better is not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about waking up and choosing to push forward even when yesterday felt messy, disappointing, or exhausting. There was a man who wanted to turn his life around, but every time he tried to make big changes, he would burn out within weeks. One day, he decided he was done chasing perfection. Instead, he focused on winning the day. Just the day. If he could make today better than yesterday, that was enough. He committed to small routines, a 10-minute workout, listening to educational audio during his commute, saving just a little money each week, writing down 3 things he was grateful for. Those tiny shifts didn't feel powerful at first, but months later, his body felt stronger, his mind clearer, his confidence higher, and his future brighter. Not because he changed everything at once, but because he changed something every day. Becoming better every day also means being humble enough to recognize where you need growth. It means admitting you don't know everything. It means being open to learning, listening, and evolving. Growth is not always comfortable. It challenges your old habits, your ego, your excuses. But that discomfort is a sign that you're stretching something inside you. Your discipline, your resilience, your identity. And committing to daily improvement is not only about actions, it's about mindset. It's about asking yourself each day, who do I want to be? What version of myself am I building? What choices align with the person I'm becoming? When you start living with intention, your decisions shift. You treat yourself with more respect. You surround yourself with better energy. You choose habits that strengthen your future instead of habits that steal from it. There will be days when you stumble. Days when you don't feel your best. Days when the progress feels invisible. But that is part of the journey. A commitment is not measured by perfection. It's measured by persistence. What matters is that you keep showing up. You keep trying, you keep growing. Because every day you choose to become better, even just a little, you move closer to the person you were meant to be. And one day you'll look back and barely recognize the person you used to be. Not because everything changed at once, but because you decided to change a little every single day. You were not put on this earth to simply survive. You were put here to grow, to rise, to evolve, to build yourself into someone stronger than your past, stronger than your fears, stronger than the noise around you. Your future is not built by chance. It is built by choice, by courage, by discipline, by truth. By the daily decision to push a little harder, believe a little deeper, and rise a little higher. So start today. Start with what you have. Start with who you are, but don't you dare finish there, because the strongest version of you is waiting to be built.